Hey, welcome back to another Black City Coffee vlog. In this video, part 2, we're going to take a look in more detail, as requested, at Jord's roasting data with his unique roaster, 500 gram. And you guys wanted to see the stuff. You guys want to see the breakdown of all the data. So I'll put that on the screen right now. And then you could screenshot it and then kind of dissect it and whatever, if you like. Okay. But Jordan, you gave me the roast explanation, so I want to read it here. Hey mate, glad you got the package safely and you enjoyed it. I'll explain my Rwanda roast log record, but applies to all logs you got. So basically I use item, where? Okay, keep reading. Data points to record the data. Second crack PM or E doesn't indicate second crack happening. I just use that item to slot to record the data at 4 minutes, etc. Okay. So you can't change where it says item. You can't change the name. Okay. So that's what he's saying. Into broiler straight after I dump the beans into the roasting drum. I press that to record data. Shows charge temp at 191 C or 375. Initial fuel setting, 65%. Air is at 30%. Okay, yeah, that checks out. Bounce means turning point. I was right. Turnaround time, minute 5. Okay, so actually we can go around here and just sort of like call this TP for 2. This is charge, CH or CT. Okay, and then item 6, boop, 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 2 crack P. I just press that at 4 minutes to record data at that time. Nothing changed in the settings. Okay, a 4-minute just documentation of time. Okay. 2 crack M. I just pressed that at 6 minutes, 6.12 minutes to record data at that time. Nothing changed. So nothing changed. And then 2 crack E. The bean temp reaches 338 Fahrenheit. I changed the fuel setting to 50% power. Keep air at 30. As soon as I did the heat change, I pressed item 8 to record the change in my heat. Different. I hope you guys are following along here. I'll put all this in the description. So hopefully you guys can figure it out from there, okay? Okay, item 5, 1 crack E, 8.47 minutes. Bean temp at 372. I reduced the fuel to 35%. Everything else stays the same. Air at 30. Interesting. First crack doesn't start here, even though the name indicates that. Okay. Item 3, 1 crack P, 9 minutes. 9:59 minutes is when I start to hear the first pops of first crack at 392. Okay, a later first crack for me. I get like 372, 375 for first crack typically. I keep fuel at 35%, increase air to 60%. Okay, item 9. N shows total roast time of 10 minutes 43, ending bean temp at 397. Okay, heat at 35%, air at 60%, and the other bits of data as you see. Okay. Highlighted just the main bits. So again, to round everything up, initial settings, fuel at 65%, air at 30%. Charge was 374, turnaround at 1 minute 5. These markers at 2 cracky and 1 cracky are just sort of like markers for you to, I think, signal to yourself like you're on track, right? You're on the right track. And then 1 crack P, I keep the fuel the same at 35%, increase the air to 60. At almost 10 minutes, first crack begins at 10 minutes. Okay, so it's a very long middle phase for this Rwanda. Total time from first crack start to drop temp, 44 seconds. And a very, very short third phase, which is 44 seconds long. Okay, so I think from my memory, generally I was right in terms of that. A little misinterpretation of the data of when first crack actually happens. Not really a big deal. Okay, but basically a pretty standard starting point. A little different than mine. First crack is a little later. It's a really long middle, which I think really developed the inner bean of this coffee. Rwandan coffee is very dense typically. So I really think you were able to flesh out all the flavors of this coffee, and then to not take it anymore into any more like a darker roast territory. It's a 44-second third phase, which is really typical of those coffees that you want to retain, or they can go pretty roasty very quickly, or they can. And so having a short third phase will retain all of that sort of acidity in the cup and all those like sort of delicate flavors that you get with African coffees. So yeah, generally like that's what I would do after figuring out that's how this coffee is roasted the best. Fuel throughout the roast is 65% to 50% to 35. So 65, 50, 35, decreased gradually. That sounds about right. Air throughout the roast is 30 to 60. Okay, so two air changes only. And this was really common back in the day with the big old school roasters that didn't have a lot of things that you could manipulate, a lot of variables that you could adjust. For example, the Mill City Roaster, the one that I have, a lot of things you can adjust. You can have a lot of control in this way. At the same time, it could be maybe a little difficult for people who don't like to have a lot of variables to manipulate to get similar results. So machines like Probats, or I think even like, what's that other one? Dietrich's, they have like minimal, back in the day, minimal things that you can adjust. Air is like low to high. Fuel is like low, medium, high. You know what I mean? Very unorthodox, I know. I just have adapted to the software as best as I can. I did a mini write-up about the roaster for the manufacturer to help future buyers with the software. Yeah, that's really nice of you, Jord. That's really cool. I really appreciate all this very detailed explanation of everything to help me understand as a roaster, and so that we could even disseminate it out there and help other people. And you could see this is proof of like numbers are just numbers, right? He's just using this machine to help him roast the coffee in a way that best suits this coffee and will taste good in the cup. And I could really tell that as I'm reading all of his data, he's not attached to his data. He's not attached to the number, which I think in the beginning, roasters are too attached to the data, too emotionally attached to how pretty the curve looks. And it's just not about that. If you stay in roasting long enough, I believe, and as I've talked to other seasoned roasters and coffee owners, cafe owners, it's not really about the numbers. It's just how do you manipulate your equipment so that you can get some sort of cup quality that you're looking for. Okay, so I really I keep belaying the point, but I'm just giving advice to my younger coffee self, which was like too emotionally attached to numbers and pretty curves. And what looking at somebody else's curve and going like, oh, mine doesn't look like that. Does that mean my coffee's bad? Like, it doesn't mean that necessarily. So this was, I think, a really educational and I think really important video. I think if and I probably am not saying it the best way possible, but it's like, don't get too attached to the numbers. Don't roast the curve, roast the coffee, and use whatever you have. This guy's got a software that he didn't know how to use, doesn't even, it's made in a country that, English is not their first language. And so he was able to adapt to it, still learn how it works, and then roast some really great cups. Like no smoke in the cup, no weird like correlations between the data and what I'm tasting in the cup. It is what it is. And it was a true representation of, I think, your skill as a roaster, Jord. So I think that's really cool. And yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Just not being attached to the machine, the numbers, the curve, and just using them as tools to make. The most important thing is a good cup of coffee. that other people also enjoy too. Okay. So we have that validation between each other as roasters. So it's super cool. As I said, I'll try to put everything in the description. I hope that works out. Or I'll put it on the screen. You can screenshot it and figure all that stuff out. These, I was just trying these out just to give Jordan some more props. Very tasty cup. This brewer with this holder thingy, like you can imagine this with some fresh coffee. Maybe you put some fresh coffee in here, like maybe before you take a hike or something, or you go on a trip. Then you put that in a little bag like that. Okay. And then 20 grams fits really well in here. 23, 24 fits really well. It only fills to up about here. And you just eyeball the water level. And, you know, just be mindful of how much water you're pouring into your mug. And it's really good. There's no technique involved. You just pour the water. And you keep pouring until you feel like you've eyeballed enough coffee in your mug there and everything looks good. But yeah, I could see this being a much better contender to say something like this. See this break in here? So what happens is you have this bypass of water through this filter, and then that filter touches this metal and then goes into your cup, and I taste it. And I'm either tasting bypass and or the metal taste of this, which I hate the metal taste, so I hate any kind of like metal mug, metal travel mug. I hate all those kinds of mugs now because I can taste it. For some weird reason, I can taste it. I can also taste tap water too. That comes with you being like more connoisseur, I guess, with your coffee and being more picky with your coffee and being more consistent with the types of coffee that you prefer. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm ruined for any other coffee. But yeah, I'm not using this anymore. This came with the packed. It kind of like breaks down like this. That's why there is a break there. But that break causes bypass when you're brewing. And bypass is just water bypassing coffee grounds and then just going straight into your cup. This dilution versus brewing. So you never want to dilute your coffee really. Just adding like hot water to a brewed cup of coffee because it dilutes it. It's not the same as brewing water through coffee grounds and then into your cup. I can taste the difference. Some people can't, whatever, but that's how it is. So I'm eliminating this. I'll throw a couple of these in my travel pack, which is this thing. It's a little heavy. Right now, I'm using this very cool thing. Where is it? Oh, it's right here. Bloop. A silicone pour over. I really like the pour over method of brewing because versus say AeroPress, because the cleanup is easier. And cleanup is everything when you're camping. You don't want to spend your time cleaning things. You want to spend your time enjoying and relaxing. And in general, I don't like cleanup. And I would have argued before that the cleanup for the AeroPress was super easy. But in fact, in my experience, which I don't use this anymore quite often, yes, it creates a nice little puck when you're done, right? When you go like this, boop, a little puck comes out. But then there's all this residue and oils that get attached to here. And now I have to clean it. And my normal lazy self will maybe just wipe it off. And eventually it gets nasty. And then now I have to clean it. Another thing too with the friggin' AeroPress, I'm so sad, but with the AeroPress, you have to kind of give it a little stir. So now you have a spoon to clean. So I'm always trying to think about efficiency and like, you know, address my lazy self. Like this is how I am in the morning. I just want to roll, you know. So I'm not brewing with the AeroPress anymore, even though it gives me a very nice cup quality. I love it. But now I'm just rolling with pour over when I travel. And now because the cup quality of this is very, very similar to this. Makes sense, right? Because it's basically a porous filter right here. But the fact is you don't need any technique. And that's why I think this is an even more of a gem, because you don't need technique. You just need to eyeball it. And I'm an eyeballing kind of gal. And I like that type of brewing system. So I'll definitely throw some of these. But I would need to put some here. Or I can always just grind it, you know, whenever I want. Throw some of these in here. I'm going to take all of these, actually, the ones that Jord gave me. I got a classical blend, a monsoon Malabar, and then a Nicaraguan, and then there's one other one behind I can't see. I'm going to take that too, and that is going to be tasty. So yeah, if you want a travel thing that I'm sure is super cheap, I got to put this in there somehow too. Put maybe over there. I would definitely go for these. I think, Jord, you have a link. I'll ask it from you. But, and then whenever I get, I'll put in the description for y'all if you're interested. Sorry, I did this with one hand. So this is a little brewer thingy. Put it right here. Ta-da! Look at that! It all fits. Boom! Ready for my next adventure. That's super cool. I really like that. I think I will hit you up for that link so I can make my own and keep making these because I really like them. But yeah, I like it. All right. So that was part 2. Thank you so much for hanging out. And for those who were asking for the data, like I said, it will be in the description, and we'll see you next time.